Hi, everybody. My name is Emily Seelman. I am the founder and CEO of Canna Business Services. Welcome to the YouTube channel. Today, we are talking about New York and its legalization and what's going on in the cannabis industry there. There's a lot of chatter, a lot of movement. So, of course, we invited one of our favorite guests, Sheri Tarr. She is the subject matter expert of the industry. In my opinion, she is the go-to person when it comes to commercialization and compliance in FDA regulated products. That means hemp, cannabis, other things, but for our purposes, hemp and cannabis when it comes to what we're talking about today, which is the movement in New York. And of course, you live in New York. So this is perfect. Obviously, you're on the ground floor there. So I really want to use this video to quickly go through three major things that are happening. One, what that future landscape of adult use legalization looks like. And by adult use, I mean recreational cannabis. Second, the New York Department of Health recently released regulations and the official comments of which you were a part of, which is a big freaking deal. So I want to talk about that, of course, and what that means and why that's applicable to the people listening or watching today. And of course, the third thing, where are we in licensing? Can we get a picture of what we can expect and what people can kind of pursue when it comes to cannabis in New York? So with that, let's get started. Sheri, nice to have you back.
It's always a pleasure, Emily. Thank you so much.
We actually have another video that's in production right now. By the time people watch this video, it may already be released, but it is a spotlight video on you. And once that's completed, it'll be up on our website and, of course, on our YouTube channel. The website is www.cannabusinessservices.com, and our YouTube channel is Canna Services. So depending on when you're watching this, that video may already be released or may be soon to be released. So if it hasn't been released yet, that's a teaser of what to expect. And it's a big background on you. So that's really, really great. But today, and the focus of this video is New York cannabis. So let's kind of hop into that first subject and just talk about the future landscape of recreational or adult use cannabis.
I am glad to offer up some good news out of the state of New York. There's some reasons to be optimistic for 2021.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's jump right into it. So the future landscape, adult use, recreational cannabis, what's going on?
So here's some reasons to be optimistic, if you will. Look, New Jersey's already legalized. Massachusetts is already legalized. Anybody that knows New York knows that New York doesn't stay in second place to anyone or anything for very long. Reasons for optimism in New York around cannabis and hemp stems from a couple of things. First of all, unfortunately, the economic woes, in large part from the events of 2020. But the economy of New York is such that it needs recovery. It needs reinfusion, right? And cannabis and hemp represent economic recovery. And that is not lost on Cuomo, who has re-upped his pledge to legalize cannabis. He calls it marijuana, I call it cannabis. Tomato, it makes a difference. As a matter of fact, just as a side note, that relates to the two bills that are pending. One is the CRTA, the Cannabis Regulations and Tax Act, and then the MRTA, which is the Marijuana Regulations and Tax Act. And I'll just give you one guess what the difference might be between the two. Think New York and money. What do you think the difference is?
Tax.
Exactly. Bingo, bingo. So
tax and the word marijuana.
Exactly. Which shouldn't be lost, actually. That it's not an unimportant issue when we talk about changing stigma and moving.
It's still an issue in the cannabis space, but that actually brings up, and it's kind of off topic, but let's hit it for 30 seconds. That merge, the convergence between the cannabis space and people outside of the cannabis space, lawmakers, business people who are entering that don't really know cannabis except for the fact that it offers good business opportunity. They're not used to all of the plights that people have gone through and all of the advocacy people have gone through to introduce cannabis in their space, including the term cannabis instead of marijuana.
Yes.
So that was obviously, marijuana was the term that was used constantly in the past. And now a lot of states are quick to catch that error and then correct it. New York, not so much, but I think they're so focused on the tax and obviously COVID and everything last year and trying to recover, like you said, economically. So that was a quick sidebar. But really what you were saying there is these two bills, largely the same. One, though, focuses on a greater tax revenue for the state.
Right. And the good news is, and the important takeaway is, as one of the reasons for optimism in New York, is that both sponsors, if you will, of both bills have re-upped on those, have reinitiated those, bringing them, if you will, to the top of the pile again. And more importantly, Governor Cuomo has repledged his commitment to legalizing cannabis in 2021. So those are reasons to be optimistic. With regional pressures, New York is not going to be very comfortable giving away tax revenues to surrounding states. One of the other opportunities that cannabis represents, not only to New York, it's to the tri-state and this whole area, to really collaborate and revitalize, if you will, all of the states' economies, but also their societies, right? Because let's not stay completely focused, narrowly focused on the economies of this. This is also about the recovery of humanity. This is also the recovery of people from various debilitating health conditions. Of course, the devil's always in the details with these bills, right? But we do know we have sort of some telegraphing of where New York is in its state of mind around regulations and licensing from the recently proposed Department of Health cannabinoid hemp regulations. And as you mentioned, I did chair a committee that submitted comments about those regulations. And as a subject matter expert in this space, I've been asked several times, and including by New Jersey reporters, what do I think about these regulations? And I will tell you that as somebody that's made a career on focusing on balancing safety and compliance with commercialization and long-term brand equity, in the same respect, I think these regulations are standard setting. They strike a really healthy balance, in my opinion, between protecting consumers and creating a viable cannabis economy in New York and in the tri-state region.
I love that. And that really kind of segues nicely into the third and final topic, which is what do we expect from licensing? How do these regulations affect people who are watching this video, listening to this video, and looking for the answer to their question of, okay, how do I get into the space? I want in, how do I get there?
Well, yeah, and you ask a really, really a question that I get asked and you get asked all of the time. And if you're not asking it, then you need to be thinking about this. So here, what the regulations have signaled is real clarity around product packaging and labeling standards, lab testing, and other regulatory components, right? Which is very consistent with FDA standards for manufacturing and for marketing. And what have we learned, you and I, from working in various states with license applicants and me with various brands in various other states, is that I can tell you firsthand that the New York regulations are very consistent, although I think they're actually more standard setting in terms of compliance and product safety. They're very consistent with other states that are similarly situated, including Illinois, including New Jersey. So you asked a question, and it's just absolutely critical. What do brands and license applicants need to be doing? They need to get in position now, because things are going to move very quickly. Once they move in New York, they're going to move very quickly. It's going to be the most competitive market because there's so much opportunity here, right? So, I use an acronym when I talk to clients who are wringing their hands about their brand or their license application, and so much uncertainty and so many things out of their control and so many things that are overwhelming. I say there's three things that every person can control. I call it APE. And I have to say I'm plagiarizing, I'm gonna say I'm borrowing from a football coach, an NFL football coach. He said there's three things that every team member can control. And it's APE. It's attitude, it's preparedness, and it's effort. And if you go into a license application with the right attitude, that you need to start preparing now, and you need to bring on the right team of subject matter experts and consulting guides like you, and put in the effort, you'll at least be in the game. And whether you score is a direct correlation with how prepared you are, how much effort you put in, and how realistic your attitude is about what it's going to take to win.
Really great point, Sheri. Licensing is a whole different beast. And when you're new to the licensing industry, or the licensing segment of the cannabis industry, I should say, it's a little confusing, because you think an application round opens, it looks like maybe a 1 or 2 page application. You're like, I can handle this just fine. And then you get into it, and most people end up realizing how big of a monster it is. It's such a big project. But what a lot of people don't realize is that your competition has been preparing 6 months, a year and 6 months in advance of that round opening. So if you're just introducing yourself to the New York market when the application round starts, when the state releases its application or RFP, request for proposals, you're probably too late. So, based on the stereotype of New Yorkers, you're all very gung-ho about getting things done. You're all hard-hitting, you're straightforward, you're to the point, but you also, you guys kind of set the standard for fast pace, getting things done, knocking it out of the park. And so I imagine that the level of competition in New York licensing is going to be so competitive. I mean, you and I have worked in very competitive application states. We know what competition looks like, but I'm sure a lot of applicants may not realize the amount of competition they're going to have. But by a quick example, most recently, Illinois just closed their round. They're in a massive amount of litigation, but the key takeaway from that state is 75 dispensary licenses were being handed out. 4,000 applications were submitted. That's insane. That is a very small chance of winning. And many of those applicants were multi-state operators. But that doesn't mean, if you're not a multi-state operator or an operator who's got licenses in multiple states, it doesn't mean you're out of the running. It means you need to start now. One analogy I like to make, because I think it's very applicable, it's like whitewater rafting. No guarantee you're going to make it to the bottom. You're going to make it to the end of that whitewater rafting trip. But you are much better off having a guide on that raft with you, who has been down those rapids before, who understands this process, who understands when you need to make certain turns, make certain pivots, and help you survive to get to that end point. And that's what we do for our clients. So prior to this round opening up is the perfect opportunity to step in and go after, or start figuring out what you're going to go after in terms of licensing, whether that's cultivation, processing, transport, or delivery, I believe is the term that New York is using, or even just formulating what your business strategy is, what your go-to-market strategy is, the things that occur before that application round opens up. You need to start those things now. And that's how we help our clients become successful in this industry. We start well before a round opens. We help them build all the necessary foundational steps so that when the round opens, they're not just introduced to this industry. They're not scrambling to get their team together, get their finances. They've already got those things checked. So all the boxes, the proverbial boxes, will be checked. And when the application round opens, now you're just spending that window of time making it better, finding ways to stand out, figuring out who your competition is, and how you can exceed or go beyond what your competition's submitting. So that's the difference. Many people will either try to do it on their own or hire us when an application round starts, and we'll help them. But you're now way behind what the varsity team's doing. So that's where CBS, Canada Business Services, comes in. That's where we help our clients. We help them prior to the application round opening, and as the application round opens and that request for proposal is released, converting all of that information and foundational items that we've created and curated with that team, our clients, and then we get that into the application, get it ready for submission, and help them win a license. You either win a license or you don't. And you have a much better chance of winning a license if you attack it well before that round opens.
Yeah, this is not a situation where the tie goes to the runner. This is about the license goes to the extraordinarily prepared. And you don't prepare on Friday when the license application is due on Monday. It's insane. We've actually had those situations before, right? Mm-hmm. And this is well beyond survival of the fittest. You may survive the round, but you want to thrive and win. So it's winning. Survival may go to the fittest, but winning goes to the prepared. And winning goes to the teams that understand that this is a comprehensive undertaking that requires more than just a lawyer. You need a guide that has assembled the subject matter experts that are required. And as you said, I love your analogy. I love it, about the rapids, right? Everybody starts off with the same regulations. Everybody starts off with the same application. And the difference maker is, how do you demonstrate to the adjudicators how to interpret and apply those regulations in a compelling way that demonstrates that team's unique capacity to execute on the cultivation plan, the processing plan, the extraction plan, the product safety plan, the compliance strategy, the business plan, you name it, right? So that's why I distinguish between what a lawyer does and what a cannabis licensing consulting expert like you does. We'll bring in a lawyer if necessary, but that's just one element of a very, very integrated, comprehensive, complex process. So I'm just glad to be part of your team, because I know, being here in New York, how insanely competitive this is going to be, and they need to get the best people on board soon, so that they're in the champion round. You don't want to just be a player, you want to be a champion. Right?
That's so true. And it's a great point about attorneys. Before we close out, just one quick point there. Attorneys have their role in this space. I mean, we're both attorneys. We get that. I started at a firm that was getting introduced into the cannabis space. So I saw how we were helping clients with consultants. Of course. But what I have found by and large is that our clients, they'll hire attorneys sometimes before they hire consultants, and they will spend almost six figures, if not six figures, on attorney fees. And what you've done many times, not all the time, but many times, you have just paid attorney rates for them to learn how to do cannabis consulting, or you're paying attorney rates for them to hire out to a third-party consultant. We've been hired. Our firm has been hired to help law firms with their application projects. So when I see that happen, it makes me cringe, because you try to help as many people as you can, and obviously people don't have to come to CBS, but my recommendation is always get a consultant first, and then when you need contractual interest or contractual things that you need, or corporation, you're setting up your LLC or whatever company model you're going to use, there are certain aspects where you need an attorney. Because if you try to do that on your own, you're again trying to cut a corner that shouldn't be cut. But in my opinion, there is a place for the attorneys in this space. There's a place for cannabis specific CPAs, but consultants are similar to a chief strategy officer, where they can oversee a lot of different interests and make sure everything's aligned. Communication is aligned. Your application is being prepared by knowledgeable sources. And then you outsource to these ancillary companies and services with their premium rates, while maintaining that kind of foundational workflow and service through a consultant. In fact, that's why I started this consultancy, because I was an attorney. I understood what consultants were doing when the cannabis industry was starting in this country. And it was kind of really a baby at that point. And consultants around the country were charging an arm and a leg, and people didn't know any better. They were new to the space. So they were paying those rates and paying attorneys and, another arm and a leg. And soon, they've given up everything and they still have work to do. And so I left the firm so that I could start my own consultancy that provided the work product and work ethic of an attorney without the attorney rates and without what these consultants at the time were charging, which was very high rates. So my goal was to provide a very cost-effective solution to what I saw as a major gap in this industry. And now we've got, obviously, have team members like you bringing your own area of expertise into it, creating these comprehensive applications for people that really give them a great shot at winning. And that's really what you need to aim for here. So I really appreciate this time, Sheri. This was great. Obviously, Sheri Tarr, subject matter expert in this space. Happy to have you, special advisor to Cannabis Business Services, team member in many ways. So happy to have you here talking about New York. And of course, as the things shift and movement continues, what we'd like to do is continue this series and talk about more states, talk about New York as it continues. So, obviously we'll have you back on, and just really happy to have your time.
Happy to be a part of it, Emily. Listen, we found each other for a reason. We come from the same set of values about wanting to do the right thing for clients and help them to be successful in the short and long term. And we both have had experience on the business side and the legal side, so we understand and are empathetic to what the challenges are that these license applicants face. So I'm proud to be a part of your team. And hey, New York, get ready, get in position. We look forward to coming back next time with another installment of what are we calling it?
Service announcement. Yeah, Sheri coined this term. Instead of PSA, public service announcement, it's CSA, Canna Service Announcement. So
there we go.
Considered trademarked by Sheri herself. She was the originator of this term, and we are using it with her permission.
With permission, indeed.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Sheri. This was fantastic. And of course, we'll see you soon.
Pleasure.